Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with my spoiler-free review of The First Omen. The First Omen is a 2024 prequel to The Omen, and it was released theatrically earlier this year. But it was released on Blu-ray earlier today. This is a spur-of-the-moment review. I had not planned on doing this. It's Tuesday, which means it's Controversial Views Day, and my video for the Garbage Pail Kids movie is already up. If you haven't watched that controversial view yet, please do so. After finishing this review, of course. The reason I did decide to do this review is because The First Omen was released today on Blu-ray. It's also available on DVD as well. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, and were maybe on the fence about buying it on physical media, I thought I'd share my thoughts on the film. I knew that today was the release date, and I had planned on getting it. I did not see The First Omen in theaters. It's been streaming for a while now on Hulu, but still, I wanted to wait for the physical release. And then this morning I thought, you know what? Let me check it out. Let me see if it's worth buying today. Regardless, I would be adding it to my collection at some point to complete the franchise. This is, after all, the 6th movie in the Omen series. I had heard mixed reviews about it, so I thought maybe it would be better to wait until I found it at a thrift store. With that being said, I also know it's important to support physical media by buying it in stores when it's released. If we keep buying everything secondhand, at some point we won't be able to buy it firsthand anymore. Point being, I watched it this morning before I went out and bought it, which confirms I did, in fact, enjoy it, and I thought it was worth buying today. Now, please bear in mind, full disclosure, The Omen is probably one of my least favorite horror franchises, and that's reflected in franchise frenzy. I do enjoy a couple of the movies, like The Omen 4 and Damien Omen 2, but the others, I could take 'em or leave 'em. Well, now, after watching The First Omen, I'm happy to say this is my favorite movie in the franchise. I probably should have waited to tell you that in a ranked video, but I'll just wait a while to do that one. I think it's important to mention that here, though. Again, for those of you on the fence about buying this, I highly recommend it. Now, that's not to say The First Omen isn't without flaws. That's also the case with every movie. But as far as this particular franchise goes, I do think it's the best one. I said this review would be spoiler-free, so I'll give you just a brief synopsis. As a prequel to the original, The First Omen is set in 1971 in Rome. The movie was filmed on location in Italy, which I love. A girl named Margaret from Massachusetts is sent there to work in an orphanage before taking her vows as a nun. Upon her arrival, Margaret is given a tour, and she meets a disturbed young girl named Carlita. Carlita is isolated from the rest of the young girls for being violent with them. She has also gotten violent with some of the nuns, and spends most of her time in the bad room. They lock her inside for days at a time. When Margaret questions this approach, they tell her it's for Carlita's own good. But obviously, something far more sinister is going on. I really can't say much more than that without spoiling it, so I'll end it there. As I already mentioned, I love the setting in The First Omen. There are some gorgeous shots of Italy, and it's all very authentic. Margaret is definitely a likable character, despite some questionable dialogue, which isn't her character's fault, but more a fault of the script. To specify, in my opinion, she has some odd reactions to things. And not in a meaningful way to the movie, in more of an unrealistic way. But again, that's just a flaw I have with the actual script, and not really Margaret's character. To be cryptic, I love the reason why everything happens. Not just in the first Omen, but for the rest of the franchise. The tagline on the Blu-ray saying, "Create something to fear," is a bit of a clue. There are a few jump scares throughout, and I have to say, one of them got me good. The kills are disgusting in the best way possible. There are also some really disturbing visuals. I think it's safe to say the first Omen is the goriest of all the Omen films. The birthing scene was especially graphic. While watching the movie, I could not for the life of me determine what the music reminded me of. And then I figured it out. Insidious. That in itself was creepy and disturbing. I like that there are homages to the original, The Omen, and I absolutely loved the ending to the film. If I'm being honest, I loved Act 1, I loved Act 2, Act 3 took a bit of a dive, and then I loved the end. To be clear, it's not that I didn't like Act 3, it was just the weakest portion of the film for me. There was a twist or reveal that wasn't all that unexpected. And once that occurs, the movie takes a sharp turn. It probably could have been a little more gradual and worked better. But that's just my opinion. Even still, I really enjoyed the first Omen. And like I said, it's my favorite in the franchise now. I'm happy I watched it first this morning, because it made me even more excited to buy this Blu-ray. Also, I really love this cover art. If you're thinking about getting it yourself, I say, go for it, because physical media matters. Unfortunately, I had to go to multiple Walmarts before I could even find a copy. And when I did, they only had one Blu-ray and one DVD. I'm getting really tired of that happening, to be honest. It's becoming a recurring theme. People can't buy movies if employees don't put them on the shelves. Now, as you know, I did not include the first Omen in Franchise Frenzy, because I only featured movies I owned on physical media at the time. With this being released today, obviously I did not have it available for that video last month. If this Blu-ray had been released earlier, the movie probably would have ranked fairly high. What I find most impressive about it is the fact that I watched it today, and I'm already looking forward to watching it again. Typically, I'm not too thrilled to revisit movies in the Omen franchise. Have you seen the first Omen? If so, what do you think of it? Comment below and let me know. Also, let me know if you plan on picking it up too. And remember, physical media matters. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.